Welcome everybody to the 5 keys to paid social agency project management inside ClickUp. We're super excited to have you here, and we are going to be pretty active as we run through this. Jeff and I have a lot to try to get through and share with you based on our experience working with hundreds and hundreds of agencies to streamline their ops inside ClickUp. So we want to teach as much as we can here as we're rocking and rolling. Jeff, will you look at the chat and see if that's flipped on for everybody? That may not be. We may not actually be able to turn that on post starting the webinar. So if so, apologies. If not, we'll figure it out here as we go. Thanks, Eileen, for letting us know though. Cool. So a couple ground rules, couple things as we get into the webinar content here today. First one is we're going to cover a lot. We will record this. So if you got questions, everybody who's here live, we're going to share this as well. Out to all of you, we've got some templates and bonuses at the end for folks. And then it seems like we've got, let me see, I'll flip into the chat real quickly. I don't think once you go live, if you mess that up ahead of time, which it looks like I did, I don't think you can go fix that after the fact.
Yeah, it looks like it's stuck.
Attendees can chat with, hey, turned on. Okay. You all should be good now. Someone can test that out. Send me something funny, make me laugh in the middle of what I'm saying, and we'll get going from there. So chat should be in there, but there's 2 different things in Zoom. I think we're probably all used to it at this point, but chat, any quick notes, stuff like that, feel free to throw it in there. And questions, if you use the Q&A panel there, we'll be able to either type to answer whoever's not presenting at that point in time, or say, hey, we're going to mark this and we'll answer it live, and it makes it really easy to keep track of as we get going from there. All right. With that said, let's go ahead and get going. Thanks, Katrina. Great to see so many familiar faces and some new faces. So, Jeff, if you go back a slide here, you know what? Why don't you? Yeah, no, we'll leave it. We'll leave it with you. You be the control man. You'll have to try and keep up with me. All right. Welcome to 5 keys to paid social agency project management in ClickUp. This is meant for those of you who are running an agency, offering, whether you're an e-com agency or you're just offering paid social as part of what you do, to clients who want to walk through what this looks like to deliver that really well inside ClickUp. So as we jump in here, Jeff and I are your guides for today. Jeff, flip forward here. I'm a co-founder at ZenPilot. We help agencies build healthier, more profitable, more productive teams by streamlining their operations in ClickUp. We worked with a little over 2,600 agencies or 2,700 agencies. Now, at this point, Jeff is in a unique position here on the ZenPilot team. Jeff has been on our team as a client coach for the past year and is now moving over to the marketing front. So he's a hardcore ClickUp power user and is seeing more process templates and more builds than most folks in the world. So super excited to have him on sharing with us as well today. And with that, let's get into it, Jeff. Actually, why don't you stop sharing? I want to pull up my screen because I want to share something around design here in just a second as we get going too. All right, is that coming through okay for you, Jeff?
Yeah, it looks good.
Perfect. All right, so we're talking the 5 keys. The 5 keys all have really simple words at the beginning. The first one is the design stage. Just like you do in a website project or anywhere else, like understanding what the heck are we actually building for is pretty important. Everybody, it's crazy if we do a webinar about something to do with ClickUp or a specific tool or Teamwork or Asana or Monday or whatever the specific tool is, that gets way more traction. That is like, that's the thing that agencies and entrepreneurs are infamous for, is jumping around from one tool to the next. And the tool is important, but the tool is just a piece of the puzzle. And the other 2 really important pieces, aside from the technical side, is we call it procedural and behavioral. So procedural is what are the processes that we're using? How do we consistently deliver great client results, regardless of whether I'm the person who's doing it or Jeff's the person who's doing it or someone else on the team is doing it? We're all following the same process. And then behaviorally is more around what are the norms around how we work? What are our standard rules of engagement? Do we follow those? Do we have accountability to get good data into the system and then be able to pull from it? So I'm going to show you what the design side looks like. We'll talk about the build, and I'll hand things over to Jeff to take us through what gold standard agency processes for paid social look like inside ClickUp, and then how we actually want to build out the ClickUp infrastructure and some of the key features that paid social teams are using to streamline their work inside ClickUp. We'll talk about the launch phase and what does having a ClickUp infrastructure that serves the three main layers in any organization. You get the executive layer and the highest layer of detail, the 40,000 foot view. You've got the account managers and project managers who need their own portfolio of what their team is performing on or how their clients are doing. And you've got individual contributors and clients, and what do they need to be able to see? And we're all, or many of us on this call today, at different parts of our day, we are living at the executive level or at the management level or at the individual contributor level. So it's not like, hey, Gray's a co-founder, he's only ever in that exec seat. No, I'm actually flipping back and forth between roles over the course of the day. We'll talk about the train side. How do you get your team to operate well and effectively and sustainably in ClickUp? How do you set the vision? What do standard rules of engagement look like? How do you train them well? And then we'll talk about how to optimize, hold them accountable to building those healthy habits, which produces the data that you need and powers better decision making. So we'll talk about all of those as we get into it, but we're going to start on the design front. Jeff, anything to add before we kick right into how do we design this out?
No, I'm super excited to see your design phase. So let's jump right into it and then we'll get into build and launch.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to show you something we've never shared on a webinar before, which is kind of a preview of what does in our engagements with clients at ZenPilot. We start with a systems design engagement. We call it the blueprint. And so this is the name blueprint comes from, this is one of the deliverables in that process. And it's basically, how do we try and put on one huge screen here, but one screen, what is our ClickUp setup? So this is the technical side. What does our ClickUp infrastructure need to look like? And then how does that map? How do we create the data schema to give us the right kind of data on the back end to make better decisions? So it starts over here on the left-hand side with our structure. So we're laying out, hey, how are we taking advantage of spaces and folders and lists, and what do those lists specifically look like? If we're breaking this down, as you'll see when Jeff gets into ClickUp, and we've got a folder for clients that all are nested inside of our delivery space. And we break agencies into these three main categories of growth, delivery, and operations. And those three categories are really important. Inside delivery, which is our client services, the typical agency will have folders for clients and a list correlated with each service line. And you'll see there's some examples where this is not just a service line, but looks like something else. So we're trying to get, what's the whole hierarchy need to look like? What are we doing from an operations perspective? And is there other stuff that we may need that's more advanced that gets built out in there as well? Standard definitions for what each layer of the hierarchy looks like. And then we're also talking about, just because we've got where work is going to go, we still need to understand how do we get that right in front of the right types of people at the right point in time. And so views in ClickUp and dashboards are the two ways you're going to visualize data. And what each of those views at each layer in the hierarchy need to look like. So we'll build that out. We'll define for agencies kind of what their custom fields and data schema needs to look like. And what do all those views mean with descriptions, and we color code, hey, this is the type of view, in list view, we need these specific ones, or docs need to look like this. So you get to see that. And then obviously we want ClickUp to be built as the single source of truth for your agency. This is where we go when we've got a question about what happened with that client or what happened with that project. But it's not the only tool in the toolbox. And so those third-party integrations, how do we get your CRM talking to ClickUp? How do we get, if you've got an external time tracking tool, that talking? If you've got a reporting tool like a Databox or a Data Studio, how does that talk to ClickUp, or vice versa? From a finance perspective or a team communication perspective or file storage perspective, how do we get Drive integrated into ClickUp and Slack integrated into ClickUp and QuickBooks integrated into ClickUp? So just defining that all out at the very beginning, at that design phase, what are the tools that need to talk to each other and how does that need to play is super important. From a process or procedural side, we need, what are all the different processes that our agency, that it takes our agency to run and deliver great results to clients? And then what's our prioritized plan for how we're building those out and getting those executed on? And then behaviorally, I'll take you through that here in a little bit, but how exactly is the team going to use this to make sure that everyone has the clarity to get the work that's on their plate done in the day-to-day? So I'm going to stop there. And Jeff, I'm going to push it to you to take us through, okay, we got to see kind of high level, what does this look like inside ClickUp, or inside on a piece of paper? So now take us inside ClickUp and show us what it looks like once we get down to business.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Gray. Yeah, so as Gray went through that, I mean, first of all, it's important to start off with getting your whole design built out before you jump into ClickUp. A bunch of people dive right into ClickUp and start building things, and there's no clear structure and no clear hierarchy there. So one of the things you also want to do in that phase is to take a look at your agency and determine, okay, what are the processes that we do as an agency? So we like to utilize a process prioritization worksheet that you basically brain dump everything you do as an agency for clients, get it into that worksheet, and then start prioritizing it based off of what processes are the most painful right now, what do we do the most frequently, and then also what are things that we don't have any documentation on. So that's going to be a way that we're going to be able to prioritize that work. And then from there, also see what is needed for launch in your initial ClickUp implementation. So things that aren't needed for launch are going to be stuff that you don't necessarily do for clients right now, and you might do that in the future. But it's super important to get that list built out and prioritize it, because for any successful implementation, as Gray was talking about, we need to get the processes built in the system. And as we always say, the process lives where the work gets done. So that's what I'm going to focus on right now. So one important piece of that is, before you start anything, we're going to need to build a process library inside ClickUp. And the reason we do this is because ClickUp has a nice template center, but we need to make sure we create a home and store all those processes in the system so that we can come back and update them later on, because processes are never going to be static. You're going to build them initially, but in the future, you're going to continue to optimize them over and over again as you increase your documentation on it, or if things need to be adjusted based off of maybe we switch some processes up and things like that. So in terms of how that's structured, you're going to have a bunch of folders down here, and we like to break these up into sort of service line lists or things like that. That gives you the ability to keep it organized and easily come back to see where your specific processes are and living, so that it's easy again to update them later on. So in terms of for paid social, some processes we're going to need no matter what is we like to utilize and look at sort of a paid social onboarding process where we're making sure we're going through, we confirm that the proposal has been signed. We're making sure we get access to certain platforms from the client or the customer here, and also going through kickoff meetings and things like that. So getting a specific onboarding process for your service lines can be very helpful, especially if these are going to be extensions of service of what you're not already doing for a client, because we need to make sure that we get everything we need from the client before we jump into anything. So we want to look at getting a specific onboarding process in here. And then in addition, some kind of campaign creation where you're going through and looking at the goals, the budget, the scope, and then also going through the copy, designing ad creative, and also making it so the actual campaign is live. And from there, we're also going to be able to have recurring tasks in ClickUp that allow us to daily go and check on that campaign, make adjustments, see where we can, again, yes, make adjustments to that specific campaign and make sure that all gets documented. So that's the high level of this. In terms of you guys building these out inside ClickUp, there's a few ingredients that you're going to need for every single process template. One of those, and this is some more ClickUp hierarchy things, is we look at these tasks. You have parent tasks and subtasks. The parent task is going to be sort of the non-actionable item or the deliverable that you're going to be doing for a specific client. So this is not necessarily going to be something that gets assigned out in the future. This is just going to be what's this campaign that we're going to be creating. And this is going to group together all the steps that are necessary to complete that. And then when I go into these subtasks are all going to be broken up so that each of these is going to be broken up into one user and one sitting, not to exceed 4 hours. So we want to make sure we get granular enough here that work does not get lost and nothing slips through the cracks. So when you go to start building your processes, take that into account and start thinking about all the steps that are necessary to complete this specific campaign. In addition, things that you're going to want to have too are due dates in all of your processes. In the future, the nice part about ClickUp is if you save this as a template, you can easily remap it. And based off of how I build this date map over here, I can choose the parent task due date, and all of this is going to be remapped from that parent task due date. So that makes it super easy to make this repeatable and do it over and over again. In addition, all these steps, we need time estimates, because that's going to be super important to have a good, accurate workload view in the future, because that workload view in ClickUp is going to be tied to time estimates, due dates, and assignees. Another thing that we utilize is deliver role, which I'll show you in a second how this is used in the future. But deliver role is super important because this is allowing us to create process templates that can help us scale in the future. So if I were to assign a specific assignee to this task right now, every time I deploy it, it's going to be assigned to just one person, but that's not always the case. If I create it with a deliver role, then I can assign this to whatever account manager is required for that specific account. So it makes it way easier to scale these and make sure that they're not stuck to specific people. And then from there, you also want to make sure that you have additional custom fields. We use things like task type or record type, as well as work category or service line. This just helps with additional reporting capabilities. We don't need to get into too much detail here, but think about some custom fields in your design phase that might be helpful for your reporting, and you can make sure that those get built into your templates. A few other things too is make sure that all these steps have some kind of documentation within this. So as I was saying before, the process needs to live where the work gets done. So in this step, explain to someone how to do it. This can also be linked out to a specific knowledge base in ClickUp. But we need to make sure that someone that gets assigned this task knows what they have to do and they know how to do it as well. So if I need to link out to anything, that's right here in this task, as well as if I have any checklist items of things that we don't want to forget when we complete this step. So a seasoned user who does this all the time, what are some things that you want to make sure you don't forget when you do this? Add that to your checklist to make this task more actionable and make sure as an agency, we're not forgetting the little things, because we want to make sure our clients get results. So we need to make sure we do every single tiny little thing here so that we're repeatable, doing the same thing over and over again. And the awesome part about ClickUp now is that I can take that, I'm going to save these as templates. And when I deploy them here, I'm going to use the example of Dunder Mifflin. We're doing work for them. We're doing a Facebook campaign. I'm able to take that and sorry, my Spotify just started playing. I'm able to take that and I can deploy it. I can change the parent task due date and then easily go and assign this. As you'll see here at the folder level, I'm able to create an assignee view, which this allows me to take all the processes that I just deployed. I can group them by my specific deliver role here, and then select all of them and easily assign that out to someone. So that makes it super easy to assign that work. And that's why we don't build those assignees into our process templates. We can use that deliver role for that. So now when I'm in here in Page Social, as you'll see, I have all my steps. Gray is assigned to this task. I have all my due dates in there. I have all my time estimates, and he can go and track that time as he goes through that step. In addition, if he has any specific documentation, maybe it's an email template or something like that, it's all going to be built into this, and it's going to make us super repeatable and be able to do this over and over again. Even if we bring a new employee on board, they'll know exactly what they have to do and how they're going to do it, because the process is living where the work gets done. So again, that's really the build phase of things, is making sure you have a nice process library with all of your templates built out. We need to get those built before we even move into the launch phase. So how we typically do it is once you have all your processes built and they're ready to go and you save them into the ClickUp Template Center, then we're able to go and start deploying those and migrating all the work. So you're going to want to have task templates, list templates, as well as a client folder template, so I can make sure all of my folders here look the same. Next, as I move into the launch phase, as Gray was talking about, we're going to have sort of 3 different views and 3 different users. We want to make sure they have a specific view and things like that for them. So as we were talking about, we're looking at leadership, and with leadership, we need to make sure that they have a spot inside of ClickUp that they can see a high-level overview of everything that's going on in the system. So here at ZenPilot, we like to utilize a CRM in ClickUp that allows us, not necessarily a sales CRM, but more of a delivery-focused CRM that gives us all of our specific deals. We can tie those deals to companies as well as contacts. So if I'm an agency founder, owner, and I need to see all of the specific companies that we're working with, like Dunder Mifflin over here, Gray's the account manager for this, I'm able to see here at a high level, Dunder Mifflin, what are the channels that they're using for our paid social? What is their monthly ad spend? What's their health? What's their objective? What's the status, billing, things like that. Super helpful for me to get a high level overview of all that information. And then I'm also able to click into this and see everything else that I would need to see here, if there's contacts associated with a specific deal or companies as well. In addition, one thing that we'll have account managers do, as you saw in that, is Gray every single week is going to be asked to fill out a weekly update. And he's going to go through and just say, hey, why would the customer be unhappy? Are you happy with the account? Have there been any changes to strategy or timeline or things like that? He's going to fill it out, and that's going to leave us a nice running log of all of his weekly updates to make sure, hey, do we need to jump into a meeting with a specific client, or things going well? Gray's also going to be required to fill out this health score, so I'm able to see that. Here we have a score of 2, so that might be something that we need to flag and make sure that we talk to Andrew about this specific client. So that's really the sort of the leadership side of things, is being able to see here in the CRM. And then in addition, if we want to go down to the account managers are going to be the ones that are looking here at these specific client lists. So if I go into Athlete or Dunder Mifflin or Advanced Refrigeration, if I'm an account manager, I want to see all of the tasks and all the projects, all the deliverables that we're doing for their specific clients. I'll be able to create a view based off the hierarchy that we made in ClickUp to see all that information. So I can come here and I can see all the work we're doing for Dunder Mifflin, all the work we're doing for Advanced Refrigeration, Athlete, when's it due, what's the status of it, how much time have we tracked for all these, as well as what's the progress of this. So I have confidence going to that specific, to Dunder Mifflin, to Michael Scott, to say, hey, we've finished this, we're ready to go on our golden ticket Facebook campaign there. So that's the sort of how the account manager is going to see that information. And then in addition, as Gray was talking about, we're going to have the individual user, individual contributor, and they're able to have a My Task view where they're able to filter up all the tasks that are just assigned to them. So as I was showing you in this delivery space, we have all these lists that have work that's assigned to a bunch of different people. As an individual contributor, I can go up here, create a view for just my work, and see where I'm assigned to everything. So I'm able to see, hey, maybe work that I have overdue, what work is due today, and this is crossing across all of the projects that I'm responsible for. I'm able to see my work, and then I can go into these specific tasks. And again, it's going to show me how to do it, what's the time estimate on this, and things like that. So it makes it super helpful for me to know what's on my workload and what do I need to complete. And then lastly, the other thing that you're going to have is based off how you create views and how you build your processes in ClickUp. If I want to be able to show the client what we're doing, there's a bunch of different options you can utilize in ClickUp. But for this one, I can create a portal for them, and I can send this to Michael Scott at Dunder Mifflin and say, hey, this is everything you need to know about what's going on. Here are some resources for you if you want to schedule a meeting, submit a request, or if you want to go to your Google Drive with some quick buttons there for them. If I want to give them a progress report of everything that we're doing, what's going on, I can show him that, as well as what are the completed projects that we've completed, and then diving into, okay, what are the analytics that are based off of what we've just done for you. I'm able to show him that in one spot so that the client has a one sort of location where they can see everything that's going on for them. So there's a lot of different ways that we can create all this inside ClickUp, which is super fun, super powerful in this tool. We just have to make sure we build the hierarchy in that systems design phase right before we jump into all of this. So that's really going from the building to launch phase. Part of this is the making sure that also everyone is trained. So I'm now going to jump over to Gray, and I'll let you kind of walk through the training and setting expectations phase of this.
That's awesome, Jeff. There's a lot of good stuff there. There's probably some questions floating around. We got some good ones coming in so far, but if you've got other questions, pull up Q&A, drop them in there, and we'll get to them here in just a second. And we'll pull back up the browser here. So we looked at kind of, hey, let's map this out and design it before we get in and we start building stuff. There's so many agencies who we're talking to on a daily basis who've been in ClickUp for 6 months, 9 months, a year, and have been through 4 or 5 different iterations of trying to make the hierarchy work and trying to tear it down and pull it back up. So that design phase, understanding what we really need, and then what's the data that we need to be able to report on and pull easily. ClickUp's so flexible. A lot of it comes down to how you've designed it, getting those processes right to make it easy for the team to get the right data into the system, getting it rolled out. There's a million other places we could go in terms of the launch phase. So there are probably some Q&A around some of the other features. But I want to talk now about how you're getting your team in there, and really training should probably happen pre-launch, but it's going to happen on both ends of launch. And the first piece that's important for everybody is just setting the vision. There is an epidemic in the agency space. We're working with a lot of creative folks, especially in paid social. You've got the analytics type your media buyers who are really data driven, and then, or commonly, and then you've got the super creative folks. And so you get two different personalities that we're kind of managing and working together on, and painting a clear vision for them of here's how everybody in the organization, here's what your day is going to look like in the future. There's going to be, walking in every day, what's on the plate. Now, you don't know the outcome of each of those. If, our results are dropping on this client, then you're going to have actions. There's got to be some bandwidth built in this type of, when you're offering paid social services, because there are a lot of variables that are happening. Same thing at the template level. You're trying to build those decision trees into templates as much as possible, but painting a clear picture for everybody. Hey, we're going to do this hard work because of the outcome that it gets us, which is data to make better decisions moving forward, understanding where are you truly overstaffed? Are you understaffed? What are we trending towards? Do we need to hire more people to get you more help? How do we get you into your zone of genius, into the right areas, the right work for you specifically as individuals, and how to give everybody clarity in their day-to-day. So painting that vision is the first piece. I want to talk about the rules of engagement. So there's all kinds of things inside ClickUp that we need to try and train the team on. And so we've got these core 10 commandments of project management in ClickUp that pretty much every agency starts with. And there may be some other ones on top of that, but those are going to revolve around things like, first of all, from a ClickUp perspective, our first rule that we're training everybody on is if it's not in ClickUp, it didn't happen. If we really want this to be our single source of truth, we've got to get used to taking the tasks that get thrown around in Slack or thrown around in email, and saying those need to wind up inside ClickUp. And we can talk about some of the easy ways that winds up in ClickUp. But then are we doing time tracking? Are we not doing time tracking? How do we handle tasks that go overdue? Is this acceptable for me to have 5 tasks that are overdue? Or if I have this and I run out of time, should I be saying, couldn't get to this today. We'll do first thing tomorrow at whoever, mention somebody, comment, bump it to where it's going. So what's the right way? How do we handle that from a behavioral perspective inside the tool? We've got to set clear expectations, or else it winds up with everybody using their own view, their own way of working inside ClickUp. So half the people are in home view, half the people are in some board view somewhere, half the people are clicking around into all the different client folders, and half the people are using a My Task view. So we've got to set those really clear expectations and rules of engagement. And then tied to that, we have to show them how to actually do that. So it's one thing to say, hey, make sure everything winds up in ClickUp. It's another thing to show them, hey, inside Slack, here's the custom emoji reaction you're going to click, and that's going to add a task to ClickUp for you to go deal with. Or here's how you're going to deal with emails and use the Chrome extension to get your tasks out of email and into ClickUp. Then here's how you're going to organize them, where they're going to go. So one thing we use is with any of our clients, we'll use this agency project management certification. We'll put every team member on the team, not just the implementation team, but every single user through this training. And so we're walking through, hey, here's the very short 10 commandments, but here's the video for how that happens. And so we're kind of first setting that vision. Hey, here's what you need to know about what ClickUp looks like in an agency setup. Here is what those behavioral expectations are. Here's how those play out in the day-to-day. And then, a handful of extra credit stuff depending on teams' work settings. If they're using Google, they should use this. If they're using Slack, they should use this, and that can be prescribed on a team-by-team basis. So yours doesn't need to look this fancy. It doesn't have to wind up in Teachable. If it lives inside ClickUp, that's okay too. But some way to train new team members as they're coming in is going to be really important for you to be successful here long term. So we can talk more about what that looks like, but I want to talk now about the outcome of that, which is once we've got the team trained, once we've launched and we've got all the processes built and the right system designed, the whole point of doing all of that isn't that we get to a place where then we kick up our feet and nothing happens. The whole point is we've built an engine that is sustainable and that can deliver good client results, and we can make better over time. So the goal for each of us in our businesses should be, how do we make the next client who comes in to work with us have, at least a little bit better experience than the prior one. The whole point of having repeatable processes is so that we can make it better over time. So that's a crucial point, is implementation by itself is not where things end. That's kind of the starting point of, hey, we've got a great system in place now. Now let's figure out, how do we make things work better? So the first key is building healthy habits for the team. So we'd recommend to each of you to assign somebody on the team, not the owner, ideally, to be your ClickUp champion internally. And that person's going to run 4 main routines or rhythms around ClickUp. So that'll look like a daily spot check, a weekly roundup, a monthly analysis, and a quarterly review. And on a daily and weekly basis, what we're really looking for is we're looking for activity and coaching opportunities. So who is not updating their tasks? Who's got overdue tasks? Who's not seeing their notifications? Who's adding tasks but forgetting to assign it to someone? Who's adding tasks and assigning it but forgetting to give it a due date? Basically, where are we violating the system? Let's find that stuff and make sure that we coach team members on how to do it better, and hold them accountable to what they've said, what we've agreed to in terms of our rules of engagement. But on and there will be some results analysis from that as well, but really on a monthly and quarterly basis is where we're splitting out and we're looking at what the data says about this. Where's time going? Are we spending way too much time? We've got a couple clients in here who are paying us, Dunder Mifflin and Vance Refrigeration are both paying us $5,000 a month, but we're spending 180 hours on Dunder Mifflin and 60 hours on Vance Refrigeration. Are we underserving this one? What's the reason for that? And how do we find more Vance Refrigerations and fewer Dunder Mifflins? Or how do we get more efficient in the service? Or is there a service line we need to cut where we're losing money? And so it's these just understanding of what the data is telling us about, hey, Jeff's really efficient in delivering webinars and Gray talks forever, and the outcome winds up being the same. We get the same conversion rate off the back of webinars either way into conversation. So maybe Jeff should just run webinars instead. How do we help people get into their sweet spot? How do we understand what service lines we need to make improvements around and what service lines we need to go sell more of? How do we understand what clients we want more of and which ones we either need to charge more to or fire? And what departments are effective and which departments are ineffective? Who's overutilized and who's underutilized? All of that data needs to get surfaced through this engine and delivery machine that we've built. And that needs to then lead to us making better decisions as agency owners and leaders moving forward. Jeff, let me pause there. Anything you'd add to that?
No, I mean, the fun part about ClickUp is after you get everything built out and start running in the system, there's a lot of data that's now being collected. Obviously, you have to find that and figure out ways to utilize it. But that is the beauty of ClickUp, is now that you get all this data in here, people are tracking time. There's so much that you're able to see from this point forward, that as long as we can find ways to utilize that and kind of break it down using dashboards, as Gray's showing, then we're able to kind of take the agency to the next level here.
I think dashboards are probably like the worst across the ClickUp user base, just the least utilized, the least well-utilized feature in the whole stack. And it largely comes from everybody wants to skip straight to the dashboard and nobody wants to do the hard work of getting the design right and the processes right, and then actually getting the data into the system. So you have to get, that's why we're covering those things first. But once those are there, that powers so much flexibility in terms of what our reporting looks like and how we're going to be able to build these dashboards out and what kind of insights we can wind up getting from it. If it's as simple as this around, hey, how are we doing on tasks and what's our audit process look like? And, what is the team up to and who's got unclear notifications? Something as simple as this, or something a lot more complex. These dashboards, which are going to be really helpful for your ClickUp champion when they're measuring, but that all becomes possible through what's created by running the system correctly.